Well, good morning, everybody. It's really good to see so many faces in this meetup. I'm Carolina Martinez. I'm the CEO of Cameo and part of the steering committee of Entrepreneurship Advantage. We are really happy to have you all here today. So we are just very excited to be able to start conversations like this with EA. We're going to be trying to modify a little bit and doing more like frequent meetups, so we can really talk between all our members about the needs and about what is happening in the industry. And with everything that is happening right now in the world, in the state, in our cities, in the counties, I think it is very important for all of us to come together and really share what we are living and just have open conversations about how we could continue working to improve the world. Really, it ends up to that. Everything that we do really is going to be helping and having an impact with communities that really need it. We all work with underserved communities. We are having a lot of minority, African American, immigrant communities, and we should be really having open conversations about how we can continue improving that. So we're very happy to have that conversation, or start that conversation today. It's not always just training about how to improve our services, but also having more deep conversations about it. So I'm really excited that Entrepreneurship Advantage, this initiative, was allowing us to open it up to some of the Cameo members statewide. And we hope to continue developing these conversations as we go. So I really hope you enjoy today. We have a great presenter, and we are very excited to have Ali with us that Heidi is going to be introducing a little later. And thank you all for joining us today. So I just wanted to welcome you. Hope we can continue this conversation further, and hope we can have a great meetup today. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Heidi to get us started.
Thank you, Carolina. Hi, everybody. I think this is our third virtual meetup for Entrepreneurship Advantage, which is our LA collaborative. I'm Heidi Pickman. If you don't know me, I am the VP of Programs and Policy at Cameo. Next slide, please. Just going to give you a few Zoom tips, and in case you don't know, I'm sure you all are pros by now, but just in case, if you need to see the Zoom menu, you can take your cursor and drag it to the bottom of your screen. There's a mic icon on the left. You are muted. If you want to unmute yourself, go ahead. There's also a chat box, which I'm going to ask you to use. It's the one with the little cartoon bubble on the top and it says chat at the bottom. If you would do me the honor of typing in your name, your organization, and where you're calling from. You don't actually have to type in your name because it'll pop in the chat. Your name, your organization, and where you are. So your organization name and where you're located. We have Storm from NalCab in San Antonio. Thank you, Storm. Good afternoon. It's still morning here. And Erin Renaissance in the Bay Area. Margaret Jackson, she's the Alameda County SBDC Executive Director. I'm not going to be able to read everybody, but Kathleen's calling in from Cleveland and Portland. Wow, so we have people from all around the country here. This is really great to see. And people are still logging in this time of Zoom where everybody's got so many calls to make. So that's great. Frank from Bethel, LA CDC's Best Mobile Accelerator is on the steering committee. There's Monica, who's here with us from CDC Small Business Finance, also on the steering committee. Obviously, we're not going to have time to say who everybody is, but you can kind of see that there are Dodger fans on the phone, on the line. Sorry, I'm a member of Bo Sox Nation. Anyways, I don't know if that's okay to say. I haven't been following baseball in a long time. They might be evil at this point. Who knows? Just so everybody knows, we're going to send you a recording, and you're free to share. And we'll send you a link as soon as we can, and we will send you the slides today. Another Zoom tip: in between the PowerPoint and your speaker gallery, you can either do speaker view, which is at the top, or gallery view. In between those two things, the PowerPoint and where all the speakers are, there's some parallel bars, and you can move them back and forth to see if you want to, like, if you want to do the speaker or do the PowerPoint, whatever your preference is. So thanks everybody for typing your name into chat. Next slide, please, Melissa. I have Melissa, my partner in crime, who is the Melissa Cruz. She's a Southern California program manager, and she's managing the slides today. Want everybody to know that our micro lending essentials class, which was a 2-day class and is now being taught virtually starting August 11th, which is a little less than 2 weeks from today. It is sold out, we're happy to report. But Melissa, if you wanted to pop the link, the registration link into chat, there is a wait list, and you'll be first online to register for a second cohort, which we're just trying to finalize the dates, possibly sometime in October. So if that's really exciting for us, that it was our first time doing this online and we kind of sold out like that. We also have a resources page for business. It is at the top of our homepage, about to be moved into the big block, but there's a link to it on the top of our homepage, but Melissa can also post that link into chat. And we're also having our next virtual meetup, which is inclusive entrepreneurship, talking about a few of our members who are actually kind of to continue this conversation. A few of our members will talk about how they've worked about being inclusive with their training and their lending. I thought it was really interesting, the difference between diversity. Someone mentioned, I saw this recently, someone mentioned diversity is being invited to the party and being inclusive is being invited to dance. I thought that was a really nice metaphor for the different, like people talk about diversity and inclusivity. I thought that was a nice metaphor. Next slide, please, Lisa. So we are here, the generosity of Entrepreneurship Advantage. Just so for those of you who aren't regular EA attendees, EA is our LA collaborative. It's to create economic opportunity for entrepreneurs and small businesses in LA County by connecting human, technical, and capital resources through regional collaboration. There's some people who are on this call who thought about almost a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago by now, that'd be really great if everybody knew who was doing what and how they can help the entrepreneurs in LA manage the ecosystem. So, you know, this is a developing collaborative, and the idea is that eventually it'll spin off to be its own organization, but right now it's a program of Cameo. And we are bringing our EA members together to discuss best practices, strategies, challenges in light of COVID-19, and also the prevailing winds in our society. Next, I want to get to Ali, so I'm going to go right to the agenda. We have Ali Lederer. She's the Director of Fair Lending and Consumer Protection. She's going to talk about discrimination in small business lending, and the National Coalition for the National Community Reinvestment Coalition has done some great work under Ali's direction about discrimination in small business lending in LA and the broader area, including what's happened with the PPP loans. And then we're gonna have a little bit of a facilitated discussion and some network activities. We're gonna teletransport you into breakout rooms and discuss them on yourselves. The official stop time for this is 12 o'clock, but we're happy to stay on the phone till a little bit later if people want to continue the conversation. We do have quite a few people on the line. So, you know, to make sure everybody gets to say what they want to say and share, we'll open this up for a longer, and cameos, I mean, we could stay on even a few minutes after that if necessary. So with that, let's introduce our topic today. You can go back, Melissa, to that slide. I do want to, for everybody's edification, kind of set the stage of COVID's impact on businesses of color. Everybody has, I don't know if everybody on this call has seen some of the statistics, but the number of Black businesses that we've lost because of COVID is twice that of the national rate. It's about 41%, where the national rate's 22%, and Latino businesses 32%. Big losses in communities of color. And today we're going to talk with Ali about how discrimination in banking in general has contributed to the lack of access in LA and its implication on the decline of Black and brown small businesses, what they had, the implications that they have today. So with that, I would like to bring on Ali Lederer. I met Ali several years ago, and she's been a great partner and really is a thought leader in this field of kind of equality and fair lending. So Ali, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Can everyone hear me? Great. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss the work that I've been doing in collaboration with my other colleagues at NCRC, as well as with 3 professors that we work with. Their names are Dr. Sterling Bone, he's at Utah State University, Dr. Jerome Williams, he is at Rutgers University, and Dr. Glenn Christensen. The group of us have been together for the last couple of years. I actually found their initial research, they are marketing professors who are looking at the top of the funnel, the ability of actually accessing credit. And they've been in this area for over 10 years. And then we've been able to partner with them and to do mystery shopping on this area and understanding the differences in multiple cities. We've tested in LA and in DC as well as in Atlanta over the last number of years. And so I will talk about the LA data as well as the recent paper we put out about 2 weeks ago on our PPP lending that we did in the DC area. So if we can go to the next slide. One of the things that we wanted to understand initially was how many loans are possible, what is happening loan-wise in different markets. So in our first white paper that we put out in 2019, we looked at 7 different markets. The slides we're going to talk about are really in the market of LA to understand what is available. Unfortunately, we don't have a very clear understanding. The reason for that is that there is no real publicly available data. We can cull some data through CRA loans that are for small businesses as well as SBA lending. That really only counts about 3% of data. The remaining 97% are conventional loans done on the bank's books and are not publicly available. With the implementation of 1071, which is a section of Dodd-Frank, the CFPB will be required to collect that data and put it out publicly, and then we'll finally be able to shed some light and see who is getting loans, where are loans being made, and who's making these loans. So looking at on the publicly available data, we can see here that while deposits have increased in the LA, this is back before 2018, despite the economy recovering from the 2008 recession, small business lending by depository institutions decreased by 20%. So the question again comes in that the 1071 data fulfill, who's filling in that void? So if we've lost it by 20% by the big banks, is it CDFIs? Who's filling it in? So we don't know, and nobody knows really. Next slide, please. It's also interesting to note that the number of Black business owners is very low compared to their percentage in different cities. So here, if you're looking at this slide here, we looked at the percentage of Black business owners in Philly, New York, Milwaukee, LA, DC, Atlanta, and Houston, and we compared it to the percentage of residential population. And we see in LA that Black residents are 6% of the population, but they are only 1% of entrepreneurs. So that's a big problem. And we also see, if you go to the next slide, Melissa, we see the same problem again with Hispanic business owners, that in LA, they are only 10% of the business owners, but they are 45% of the population. Again, this is disproportionate. What is interesting to note is that compared to white business owners, where it's the exact opposite, that they are smaller, that they're more business owners compared to their size of population. So we are seeing that there are less minority business owners than there should be. Can you go to the next slide? And then in terms of what we know about the small business loans that are publicly available data, we know that in LA, most of these are going to upper income people, with only 5 and 18% be going to low and moderate income people. So this is, again, is a part of this problem of, if we knew what loans are being made, we would know who is getting them, and we'd be able to fix it and correct it. But without that information, we really are unable to work on that. So what we do is we look at both the data and try to understand the marketplace, but we also do match pair testing. And match pair testing is when you send in 2 people with the same profiles into an institution to find out information. And what we're looking to understand through our match pair studies are minority and non-minority business owners with similar economic and business profiles presented with the same information, required to provide the same information, and given the same level of service quality and encouragement. And this all goes back to ECOA, which is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which it covers small business lending. It covers all lending, but small business falls into this. Mortgages are also covered by the Fair Housing Act. And we look, and they have discrimination clauses. So you're not allowed to discriminate based upon being a member of a protected class. Under ECOA, race is a protected class, religion is a protected class, color is a protected class, national origins are a protected class, marital status is a protected class, gender is a protected class. So there are a number of protected classes, and we are testing for different factors in that. In LA, we tested 32 financial institutions, and we did sandwich tests where we sent in a white tester, a black tester, and a Hispanic tester. They were all male, so we kept them all the same for these. You know, the next slide. So what the graphs that we'll be showing show is the marketplace overall. So it does not break out by bank branch or by bank institution. It just talks about how are people behaving in the marketplace. And we see some statistically significant situations happening here. This is the chart talking about greetings by race of the testers. So you can see, you know, we ask the testers questions like, do they ask if they can help you? Do they smile at you? Do they introduce themselves to you? We see here that for introduce self to you, that is statistically significant, that white men were introduced by the tester saying, hello, by the bank, hello, my name is Ali, and I'm the commercial banker here, or whatever the title is. We see that happening way more often to the Hispanic, to the white tester, and then proportionally significant differences to both the Hispanic as well as the black tester, where the black tester did not receive it at the same rate. And what this is really going back to is part of this discouragement. When the feeling you get in here, the Federal Reserve Bank does their annual surveys of small businesses, and they say that about 13% of Black business, here's 13. They look at discouragement of, like, why don't people apply for loans who need lending? And one of the categories that comes out is that they feel that they're being discouraged, they're not gonna be able to get a loan. And so there's a lot of factors that go into this discouragement. One of the factors is that you talk to your friend, you say, hey, don't go to Chase Bank because, I'm not talking about Chase Bank itself, I'm just naming a bank. I've had a really bad experience. You're going to be discouraged that way, but you're also discouraged when you walk in and nobody smiles at you, or they don't make eye contact with you, or they don't offer you a seat, or they don't treat you like you actually are a business owner. And so these are elements that we're trying to understand and see here. Can you go to the next slide? We also look at the information asked by the loan officer that they spoke to, and we see a difference by race and by nationality of the tester. So example, we see here that they ask for education, but only to the Black tester. Why does education matter when you're getting a business loan? There are many business owners who are very highly educated, and there are many very successful business owners who only have a high school education. That's not a reason to deter someone from getting a loan. We also see that they ask credit card debt, but more often to the Hispanic tester. The points that are starred, those are statistically significant. The other ones are trending. So for people who are statisticians, trending means that there's no real difference. For advocates, it shows that there is a pattern here. just to kind of understand the difference. They also asked about household income. Household income here would include the spouse's income. The profiles were good enough that they didn't need their spouse's income to qualify for a loan. So there's no reason. We also did our testing. We make it where the protected tester is better off financially than the control tester. And so therefore they should be given information about more products and that kind of thing, and we're not always seeing that. Can you go to the next slide, please? And here we're seeing about information being provided. So the interest rate was given more often to the white testers, as well as loan fees and approval time, as well as monthly payments. And this is important because you can't make an educated decision if you don't have the information. And so here that the white tester is getting this information much more often than both the Hispanic and the Black tester. And then starting in the first day of the second round of PPP testing, we conducted phone tests out in DC. We did 63 tests, and we found that in 27 out of the 63 tests, this comes out to 43% of the time, the white tester received more favorable treatment than the Black tester. We tested 17 different institutions. We did it over the phone because of the pandemic. You want to go to the next slide? So what this is showing is that across the marketplace that we saw this lack of encouragement, and that goes back to this ECOA concept of discouragement that should not be happening in the credit process. And we found here that this occurred 35% of the time. So out of the 27 tests, we found 35% of the time that there was a discouragement that was happening or lack of encouragement. And what we're seeing, you're seeing here that the white tester was encouraged that they would qualify for a loan statistically significant compared to the Black or the Black male, as well as the white female, and then none of the times was the Black female told or encouraged that she made any voluntary statements that she qualified for the loan. We also saw this, an example of this down to the level of the bank is that for one test, the Black tester called. They were told before receiving any information about products, they would need to come into the bank in person. She told me that since I was not a current member of X bank, that she would have to physically identify me. She offered to make an appointment for me to come through the drive-thru so she could identify me and view my state-issued ID or driver's license. The white tester was given specific information about a line of credit and secured loan, including interest rate, fees, and approval times, and was not informed that they had to come by and go for this initial physical identification check. That asking or telling the Black tester they had to do that goes back to discouragement. You discourage you from coming in, you're making barriers so they don't want to come in. The next slide. Different products offered. So again, across the marketplace, the testers asked for products to keep them afloat. One of the products that is available at the moment is the PPP program. Both males were told more often about this. There was no statistical difference between white males and Black males, but there is a statistical difference concerning gender, that the white females and Black females were less often told about this product. And significantly, if you compare the white male to the Black female, is a significant difference here. And so we saw this being offered, this difference of products being offered 31% of the time out of the 27 tests, where we saw a difference in treatment. And then again, what we're seeing is that for example, the Black tester was told the only option they were offered was the PPP loan. The white tester was told about a business line of credit up to $100,000, as well as information on approval times, and that there was no fees associated with it. I see a question. Do you want me to answer this now, or do you want me to?
Sure, if you want to.
Yes. We did, as we talked about in the paper, we do phone paneling to ensure that the tester sounds like the perceived race of what they really are. And if they don't pass a certain percentage, we can't use them. So there are many people who do not sound like the race that they are. And so we don't use them for phone tests because you cannot see their skin color. And then on different information provided, Again, what we're seeing across the marketplace is that the white male testers receive more information and were discussed more often with the bank employees, the type of loans and the purpose of the loans compared to the women and the Black testers. And just so you know, the loan amount and the term of loan are not statistically significant, only the type of loan and the purpose of the loan, those questions, those comments were statistically significant. And again, what we're seeing with this, another example based upon one of the banks, is that both testers were informed by bank representatives that the financial institution had both a hold on all business products being offered due to the surge of PPP applications. The Black tester did not receive any additional information after being told about the hold on lending. The white tester was given information, interest rates, time frames, approval time, fees, payment options about other bank products for when the bank would start to return a funding, and encouraged to call back. So again, we're seeing this kind of this forward and back as well. If you go to the next slide, one of the things we did notice is this double impact, which is we saw in 12 out of 27 of the tests, so it's 44% of the time, but we see this like the Black tester being told no and discouraged from applying, whether it's just go on the website and look for the PPP, go back to your bank for a PPP. And the white tester said, oh, we also have these other products that, you know, if you became a customer, we could help you get a PPP and you might be able to get something else to bridge, to give you, to give you a bridge loan for this time period. So this is something else that we were seeing as a totality that was very obvious in this round of testing. Another example we've seen before in LA years ago would be the both testers didn't qualify for a loan for the amount that they requested, but one tester was told you could get 10% of your annual revenue, and the white tester was told, no, you can get 15% and possibly even more. So again, these are issues that we're seeing. These are very big fair lending flags and potential violations of ECOA. If you go for recommendations, for governmental, the CFPB needs to implement Section 1071 Dodd-Frank. We need to know who's getting loans. We need to know what's happening. And without that, it's not just us as advocates. The banks need to know. It helps you with your marketing. You know where to go. You know what to do. You can see where the holes are that are not being fulfilled and go there. So there's money being left at the table for the banks, as well as researchers for the universities. They have a better idea, as well as governmental, what's happening. And then the governmental agencies should really start conducting enforcement actions under ECOA on this. Okay, and then for recommendations for the industry, if you did PPP lending, really conduct a fair lending review of denied applications or on ones that you didn't get the full amount, to make sure that you don't have any, disparate impact issues happening there. As well as you should do compliance testing and training in the small business arena, especially compliance testing.
Great. With that, Melissa, let's stop sharing your screen and we have some questions and some comments, and let's open it up. I'd like to start with Carrie's point, and Carrie points out, rightly so, that there's 1.5 million API businesses in LA, API residents in LA, and 84,000 small businesses, and those businesses were the first ones to suffer. Do you have any information, Ali, on the API there of either, we all know why Trump is referring it to the China virus, but do you have any insight into the API world? Or is that something you guys are gonna look at in the future?
We might. We haven't looked at that yet, so I really don't have much information about that.
Okay. Yeah, us on the West Coast, we have, big populations, and we know that, we know there's been discrimination. They've also suffered losses of businesses similar to the Latino community. I think it's like about 30%. Ziamara is on the line, and Ziamara, did Ziamara Pena is from Small Business Majority, and they did a poll, and they looked at how different businesses were I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how different businesses were affected. Is that something that you can answer from your survey?
We also didn't specifically look at the AAPI community. We really focused on the Latinx and Black business owner in access points around PPP. So I know that that's something that as we think about continuing to look at research on the rollout and then looking at just systematic inequities, it's something that we are trying to ensure we're encapsulating that as well.
Thanks, Carrie. I think it's a big reminder for all of us who care about this work to include the silent, the invisible minority, as you say. There's another question before I get to China's question about the race of the bankers. Do we know anything about that, Allie?
That is always the question the professors keep getting asked in the peer review stuff. That is something that, because we've done such a volume, we are moving towards that, but it's most likely going to be released in the academic paper first.
Okay.
It is something we are looking at homophily issue of, does the race of the banker affect the service? And again, they're looking at through, they are professors, they are marketing professors, they are not in the same world the same way. And they look at it through the marketing aspect as, does it affect, the service level that the tester receives. So yeah, that is something we are totally interested in and doing stuff on, but it's data we're still analyzing through.
So this is a really good discussion question, and some of the ways we can assist our clients to minimize the discrimination experience asked from China is that something that anybody has any ideas or anybody has any experience of working on? I think education is probably, standing by their side. I know a lot of our members do loan packaging for banks as well as for their CDFIs, their CDFI cohorts. But so that's always helpful. Is there something else that people can recommend doing to assist?
This is actually China. I did ask that question, but we are in the process of implementing new ways to help our clients because we have a focus on low to moderate areas that we are focusing on. So Black and Brown communities, working with our community partners, those financial institutes, with getting dollars to those communities. So those collaborations have been helping because of that, to minimize that stigma with some of our clients, because they don't want to work with some of these institutes because of the word of mouth experience just based off of entering into those different locations and venues.
Yeah.
And that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And again, that's when we look at the marketing aspect of it. One of the things in the professor's world is very much that on those charts, you need to be at 80% in that fourth quintile for the marketing aspect. So like the looking people in the eye and the shaking their hands. Yes, I know we live in COVID, so we're not doing some of those things, but some of this is pre-COVID. And so, offering them a seat, introducing yourself, and these things, service is poor for everybody in this area, but it's especially poor for minorities. And so again, try and get everybody up to this like 80th quartile, this fourth quartile is really important.
Thanks. And then I don't know if you're allowed to say what banks were participating, Allie. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, some of this is proprietary, so we're not able to do that. Is there anybody have other thoughts about anything that Allie said? There was a lot and she went through it pretty quick. Does anybody want her to repeat anything? Like I said, we'll send these slides so you have it. We'll also send a link to both reports, the PPP report and the mystery shopping that they did in LA in our follow-up email. But does anybody want to ask any questions? It's just kind of stark. It's like, okay. Well, we have a couple more questions. Sashi says translation interpretation services are critical, whether online or in a call. Language lines, that's very true. And trust. Public counsel is providing free legal services to qualifying small business in Los Angeles. So definitely go and if your clients are having some discrimination issues, check in with public counsel. Do the banks know they're being secret shopped?
You mean,
Or, like, do they know that the people are going in and doing mystery shopping, or no?
I mean, our testers don't tell them that it'd be mystery shops. No.
So no, they don't know that.
No, they don't know.
So it's kind of, yeah. And then there's a question that was sent to me: how could banks anonymize clients' names without not making clients feel welcome? Not sure I understand that question. Do you want to elaborate, Storm? And feel free to unmute yourself too, and it doesn't have to be only us.
Hi, sure. I just, I know that, race and ethnicity can be clearly observed by people's names quite often. And so I was, trying to think of ways to control for that, perhaps assigning clients, potential clients a number or something, so as a hedge against potential discrimination. But I see, those efforts as also, being less welcoming to individuals, to clients, if I'm referred to sort of with a number or by a name that's not my own.
Allie, do you want to try?
I think I understand what you're trying to get at, but maybe I'm not fully comprehending. You want to know about, like, assigning the test for the name, or your actual clients the names?
No, I'm thinking of what banks could do so that they, as when a call comes through a call line or an email comes in, where if to control for discrimination, and one thing is just by looking at someone's name, you can often tell. So other than controlling at the looking at the client service members' performance afterwards, and looking at the number of services they offered, whether or not the individual was given a loan, like, how else could we protect the consumer? Yes, just how else could we?
I would say implicit bias training of employees, so they kind of get over that hump. If you see a certain name of a certain race or nationality, you just don't reject it outright, and you go, okay, let's go see what they have. Because again, the profiles are created in such a way that the protected test is better off. I do see a question here, and I just want to kind of comment on it about this, we don't actually get loans. What we're doing is we're testing in the pre-application arena. We're not able to go and apply for loans. That is fraud. What we're trying to understand is the first step in the door is getting into the bank and finding out the information and understanding what the products are. And if you're not being offered all the products or the correct products, then you really can't make an informed decision. And we're looking at it from at that first point of interaction. No one ever applies for a loan. There are no loans granted. So that's not how traditional, that's not how fair lending match pair work is done.
Ali,
go ahead. Whoever was gonna, I don't see.
It's Juan Carlos.
Yes.
I wanted to just kind of say, are you guys actually getting back to the banks that were participating or that were identified to participate in this particular study and let them know exactly what your findings were?
We are slowly doing that. Yeah, we have been meeting with some of the banks. And yeah, we have presented we have presented this, yes, to the banks. And so, and I know that they're, I know with the PPP that they are seeing it more. It seems to have kind of resonated a little bit more than some of the other, than our other research has in this.
Great, thanks. Well, if there's no more time for questions, I'm going to turn it over to Monica because I have I don't know if you all can hear, but I have a dog barking in the back. And who's going to lead us in discussion. Monica Guevara is a loan officer with CDC, Small Business Finance, but she's also our co-chair of Entrepreneurship Advantage. So Monica, I am going to turn the floor over to you, and I am ready to go with breakout rooms whenever you would like. So just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yes, welcome everyone. So glad you guys could make it. So glad you guys could be here. We're really excited about this. We're really excited to have Ali here to be able to lead us in this discussion, this information. One of the objectives of the Entrepreneurship Advantage Collaborative is, one, to bring in new information to our members, to the Cameo members, but two, also to capitalize on the rich information, resources, knowledge we all have just within our own experiences, within our own organizations, be that banks, economic development, government, CDFIs, technical assistance institutions. So with that, what we want to do is really kind of information share and really, you know, capitalize on your own experiences and what you've seen. So what we're going to do, and the magical thing is that you don't have to do anything. We're going to go into breakout rooms. So you just sit tight. Don't think we've left you. Don't think you've gotten, you know, kicked out of Zoom. Essentially what's going to happen is we're all going to be grouped into little breakout rooms of 4 to 5 people. And the question we wanted to pose to everyone was, do you have a client or do you know of someone that has experienced discrimination in small business lending? Out of that group, you know, you could discuss for about 5 minutes, you know, those experiences, because what we want to do is we want to take those experiences and then later talk about what we're going to do to address some of those discrepancies and that discrimination that we see happening. So I think a lot of us, especially those that work within this world, have, you know, witnessed it or seen it or had clients that have experienced it, and we want to know how to do better. So I think it's Heidi or Melissa will probably break us out into those rooms. Make sure to identify a person that will report back on whatever story you feel most exemplifies or can, you know, pose a good story. Welcome back, guys. You've been teleported back into the main room. Congratulations. I just wanted to share just a little bit of information. We did send out a pre-event survey, so I just wanted to share a little bit of that. Out of the people that responded to that survey, about 75% of the people said that they knew someone that had experienced discrimination in lending. So I think, you know, what we've heard today from Ali just really confirms what a lot of our, you know, personal experiences or our clients' experiences have reflected kind of anecdotally to us. So I just wanted to see if anyone from the group had maybe gotten past those introductions really quickly and had any examples of a client or, you know, person that they know that may have experienced discrimination in lending, what that looked like.
So this is China. I'd like to share, based off of some of our advisors' experience or reports from our clients. We have weekly meetings at the end of the week on Fridays to report some of those issues so that we can kind of try to manage and mandate those reports. And so based on the client's experience and with us specifically, the SBDC and the rapport that we build with them, we try to set it up for them to have a better experience through these different financial institutes so that they will have a different perspective when they are interacting with them. Because sometimes if they go in by themselves, you know, they don't have all the questions that they need to ask. So it's harder for them to get what they need. So we try to build out that relationship when they're going into these different venues to present themselves. So I think the relationship with us helps them with going into these different financial institutes to build their own confidence. So that helps a lot.
Can I ask you, so maybe in that, so what I'm hearing a little bit is that your clients are maybe experiencing what the report from Ali was saying, is that they're not getting all the information or all of the loan products offered to them. So your response to that is preparing your clients ahead of time with some ready-made questions, kind of counterbalance that. Is that right?
Correct.
Got it. And can you think of anything in particular that any one client experienced, maybe having not had that prep, or
well, a lot of times they will try to submit a loan application by themselves, and not have a checklist. So then they're missing documents, and then they're trying to figure out why they were rejected. So with us, having some of those checklists, or like a pre-checklist of different documentations that they're going to have to need, it helps them be prepared, rather than trying to shuffle some documents together that they think that they needed, or maybe that they didn't need. So that helps them just to be prepared and equipped to hear out what these bankers are saying to them, and have a better understanding, and not have that rejection or discriminative response to what actually happened in that session.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, and do you remember what breakout room you were in?
I was in breakout 6 I was with Carrie.
Hey. All right, any other breakout rooms want to share kind of their experiences that with clients or specifics? Oops, you mind?
Hi, I was in breakout room 4 with Larry, with El Camino SBDC, and with Storm with NowCab. And I think one of the things that Larry had mentioned was, having worked one-on-one with small business owners, they did see some folks that were automatically denied for EIDL or PPP based on visas or due to a criminal history, and were able to submit appeals. From Storm, she shared, as a national intermediary through the work, she doesn't know of too many small business owners, but in her own personal network, having connections with business owners, that it has been clear that there have been difficulties in obtaining funding. And then for us, small business majority, given that we are a resource provider and ecosystem builder, we're very accustomed to not doing one-on-one technical assistance, but we had to be able to do that during this period. And in that process, we've collected many stories of business owners that have, again, fallen into traps of discrimination. One of the business owners that stands out to me is a Black woman, a successful business owner of over 11 years, and PPP was the first time she was able to get a traditional loan product from the SBA. Having had multiple businesses that were successful, currently works in the construction industry with a staffing agency that has been able to automate and is thriving. And this was the first time in 11 years obtaining that capital. And so it's something that we hear often. And when we think about the PPP rollout as a whole, I think this was just one of the mechanisms that we're seeing stand out as what's wrong with the system, as how do we need to think about reconstructing a system that does not lock people out of opportunities, and people of color, women, and other minorities that are disproportionately impacted by inaccess points. And so with that being said, yeah, that was kind of the summary. And we are collecting some of these stories because I think that as we think about policy recommendations at the federal or state level, it's incredibly powerful to be able to say, this is the face behind what is being experienced.
Right. That's so true. Thank you, Monica, for that story. That's disheartening. Any other breakout rooms that would like to share some of their stories that they were able to share with the group? With that, I have a quick anecdote. One of the things that struck me in working with small business borrowers on PPP and on commercial loans was a Hispanic borrower who has not accessed traditional financing, even though he's been in business over 5 years. And he did not even attempt to apply for PPP until this last round. The reason he said is that he really didn't believe he had any chance of getting the loan. It wasn't until he had friends of his, people that looked like him, access PPP loan. He's like, oh, well, if they can get it, then maybe I have a chance of getting it. So going along with the encouragement, you know, how important that is. And also seeing others like you get financing. Like, is it a kind of a self-perpetuating cycle of like, well, no one like me is getting financing, so why even bother? Why even waste my time? So that was something that was also disheartening. Okay, so I think if that's all the stories we want to share right now, I think we've all, you know, seen some really great examples of, you know, small businesses that should be able to access financing that haven't. And I think we've already started to hear some of the examples of what we do in our work to remedy that. Are there other things or other initiatives that you've seen or that you, within your organization, that your organization itself are taking to remedy, to try to address some of these inequities that we're seeing in financing?
This is Joy Eubanks from Small Business Majority. So we recently did a listening session that kind of delved into what are some of the issues and what are some of the things that are happening in the African American community and the Black and Brown communities. And it's come down to that, you know, they're not being heard. A lot of them aren't being heard. So I think Cameo doing the surveys and the other partner organizations doing those surveys to get those numbers out there are huge. Because again, it's, and I said in my breakout group, if you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of the numbers are shocking to the point of like, what do you mean, you know, loans of PPP loan amounts were given out that were only $1,000. You know, what do you mean? You know, so, and they were given out to mostly the minority, the groups, whereas your larger companies and corporations got, you know, million. So it really, you know, one of the things, like I said, we did was a listening group, and we had small business owners on that. Their thing is get the information out. Let us be heard that this is happening. So I commend all the organizations for simply doing that.
Excellent.
That just goes to, oh, sorry, Monica. That goes to Ali's point of like 1071 needs to, you know, like we need data collection at all levels, and you know, that goes back to, you know, and that's something that we've been advocating for since, you know, along with the Responsible Business Lending Coalition and other organizations, you know, NCRC, to make sure that we know what's happening and have proof of what's happening in the business. I think what Ali, you guys did in your survey was kind of unique, and it hasn't really, I mean, there's, you know what the difference is, you know what self-reported data is, whether or not you got a loan or didn't get a loan. So, but didn't get at the piece of discrimination, right? It's like, oh, maybe the credit scores were low or whatever, they didn't have enough collateral, whatever it might have been. You know, we've seen studies about minorities getting less than they asked for, minorities and women, but getting less than they asked for, not as much. So this is the first, correct me if I'm wrong, study that it's addressing discrimination is in
the PPP is the first one's looking at discrimination. There have been multiple reasons. Studies have come out, articles talking about why minorities are not getting the PPP loans, because, you know, the banks went for their bigger clients, all those kind of reasons. No one was looking at the role that discrimination plays, and that's what testing really highlights. And just looking at, you know, on the basis of race. Black men, white and Black women, and what was their stories, what kind of experiences do they have, you know?
Yeah. So it just goes, you know, like there's not, you know, we raise our hackles about fintech and stuff like that. We have no info. We only have anecdotes. We don't have any data. So like, it's really, I know that's one of the things that the data is really important, making sure that these things are fair.
Heidi, I want to say one thing really quickly. I've read now probably about 2 or 3 very disturbing articles related to fraud for PPP.
Yeah.
One yesterday where some guy got $4 million and, you know, bought a Lamborghini and clothes and jewelry. And when this data is being collected, I think it should include some of those anecdotal stories as well. Imagine what $4 million would have done in any one of our communities, the number of businesses that could have been helped, the number of families that would have received assistance. And part of the reason that this is important is because this guy applied for $13 million in loans. He was only successful in getting 4.
Yeah.
I say that to be facetious.
Yeah,
That is
I know.
sarcastic.
Do you have that
But
article or know where it was? And
I'll have to find it. I've read
Yeah.
so much over the last
I mean,
week.
you know,
I'll try and see if I can find it.
Slate, there is some slant to Slate, but I'll determine that for yourself and read it for yourself. Did a piece that the PPP program was a flop, basically, because it didn't really help the people that it needed to help, and that there probably could have been a better use of the $500 billion to, you know, to with stimulus and to help the businesses that need it. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll send that link, and we'll send that in the follow-up, because that was kind of, I hate to send it in the follow-up only because Slate definitely has a slant to it, so I hate to, but there was a study by an MIT, they talk about there's some good resources in there, and one was a study by some MIT professors that you know, looked at that issue. Yeah.
I think this is great. I thought it was good information for me. Definitely looking forward to getting the slides. I've got to step off. I've got another call to take.
Yeah,
but,
like we said, we were willing to go over for whoever wants to stand in line. Right. And Monica just popped the link into chat. So thank you for coming, Erwin. Really appreciate it. If everybody's at time, if anybody, you know, if anybody would like to say anything, Allie, we want to thank you so much.
I just wanted to offer up one other thing. There were a couple of good responses that came in through the online survey. So, and just echoing some of the things that we've already said in terms of transparency of who is getting loans versus who isn't, and being able to, you know, collect that data. Strengthening CFPB. Another person offered shielding race gender data from lenders, so you know that they are unaware of who is being lent to. Mentorship, giving more resources to lending institutions of color. Let's see.
Can I say something on the CFPB thing? So yes. Just so everybody knows, Camille's been working on the DBO expansion to a CFPB-like organization that would have, because the federal government's kind of not kind of, they're sleeping on the job, or actually worse than sleeping on the job, I would say, and rolling back protections. So that's something that we've been working on, and, you know, appreciate your help and appreciate your support. So Monica?
Yeah.
More on that? More on
yeah,
the survey?
Yeah, just a couple things. Other suggestions were education. So I think this goes to the, you know, bias training that could be helpful. Having specific lending products, having specific goals for disadvantaged communities, Black and Brown communities that are underserved, and having policies in general, that would support that.
Yeah. And Monica, you have this all written up, right? Like this, so we could share these suggestions out with the group in the follow-up email? Great.
Sure.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So,
Well, I was going to say, we want to thank Allie so much for hanging in there for the entire time. And thank you all for staying a little bit later. Thank Monica for all the work she does, and Melissa, my partner in crime. And if anybody has any other closing thoughts, if not.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak about this. So
we had a really nice turnout. I know people didn't expect us to go a little later, so most people dropped off at the top of the hour. So anyways, have a lovely afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Good to
Allie.
Good to see you all.
Bye, Lon.